How are you guys all doing out there? All right, so I'm Sean Sticks Larkin. This is my co-host Howard Doss right here from the Coptales and Cocktails podcast. If you guys are not listening to it, shame on you, but sign up.
Shame.
So this is the first time we've actually done a live podcast, obviously in front of an audience. So it's up to you guys to make this enjoyable for us as much as we're trying to make it enjoyable for you. So for those of you that aren't familiar with our podcast, I'm a retired police officer from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Just retired last year after 25 years. Howard here, good personal friend of mine, is a traveling nurse.
Yeah. I'm a true helper of people.
Yeah, he's a hero, unlike us policemen nowadays.
Yeah,
but
true heroes.
No, truthfully, so Howard and I and Jason, who's back here running the camera, we're all friends back in Tulsa, and we are all bourbon collectors, connoisseurs, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, and so during the heat of COVID, Live PD was off the air. Boo. Little bit louder. Thank you. Fingers crossed it'll be back. But Howard was working up in New York City during the heat of COVID, back when it was the nastiest that it was. And he had been up there for 6 months?
Yeah, wow. Too damn long.
He'd been up there for a while, and he missed us. And I flew up to New York, literally basically picked me up at the airport, and we made a road trip back.
We stopped in Kentucky, too, and picked up bourbon.
We picked up a lot of bourbon.
And we picked up like 80 bottles of bourbon.
We looked like bootleggers.
We were bootlickers.
So, but anyways, on our way back, he and I just talking, we've been friends for several years, and everybody likes police stories. Everybody likes cop stories. A police officer goes to a party, everybody wants, tell me something crazy that's happened, that type of deal. And so just the 3 days of us driving, the time we spent in Kentucky, we just came up, man, we should try to start a podcast. We're good at BSing, whatever you want to call it. So
shit talking.
Yeah. If you listen to our podcast, there is profanity. We talk about, we're all grown-ups here. But, we came up with the idea of Coptales and Cocktails. And so that's how it came to be. We started last May. It's still slowly growing. We basically have anybody that's kind of touching the law enforcement world, from police officers that have been shot in the line of duty to victims of crimes to prosecutors. We've had, ex-convicts. We just did cybercrime. You name it, we've had them on there. So that's kind of how we came to be. So again, we're happy to be here at CrimeCon. This is our first time doing anything like this live. So,
all right, Sean, enough of that. So that's who we are. Does everybody know who that guy is on the other end?
So you will hear from him mostly, not us.
Yes.
But as the name of our podcast is Coptales and Cocktails, we have a drink with every episode that we do. It varies from sometimes just something either Howard or I choose that we like,
to the truly awful, like Apple Crown.
Apple
we don't
Crown.
Like that. That's the worst. We don't drink that. We drink white wine every once in a while, but no, most of the time it's whiskey. We like corn wine, yeah.
So Gil here is not a big whiskey drinker, but he has we have some red wine in a plastic Slurpee cup.
Because we're bougie.
But we do have a Coptales and Cocktails bottle from a company called Nashville Barrel Company out of Nashville, Tennessee.
Woo!
That is, we basically picked a whole barrel and had it bottled up, and we've been selling it, and the profit from it, all profits go to the National Fallen Officers Fund. So that's where all the money goes to. So with that being said, cheers to all of you guys.
Cheers.
We're going to have cocktails.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so we have Gil Carrillo here with us at CrimeCon 2022. Gil, for everybody here, for us included, how did you get into law enforcement? How did this whole thing start for you?
First off, before I tell you how I got in there, let me tell you something. This is pure insanity. I cannot believe I'm humbled. I don't know whether to laugh, to cry, to run. You people are just, number one, you're far too kind to this old weathered man. So it's my cheers to you.
Yeah,
Thank
here's
you
the
very much for all your support.
We don't need an excuse to drink.
Okay, now here we go. I was 17 years old. A cop took my ass home and told my parents, sign for me to get off the streets or he's going to end up dead or in prison. So at 17, they signed for me to get off the streets. I ended up in the United States Army.
Hoorah.
I turned 18 November 29th of that year. 2 months later, I was in a little town called Vietnam, a little country called Vietnam. 1 year of combat, I came back. And now I was a different person. And then I really had 3 goals in life. One goal was I wanted to go to college. I have 6 sisters, nobody in my family, cousins, nobody had ever gone to college in my family. I wanted to go to college. Number 2, I wanted to become a cop because I wanted to give back what that cop gave to me. He saved my life. Number 3, this is the one. Now pay attention. I'm going to get a bunch of ahs. I got a Dear John when I was in Vietnam. I wanted to come back. Number 3 was I wanted to hook up with that ex-girlfriend of mine, get her eaten out of the palm of my hand, and revenge was going to be mine. I got out in June of 70, started college immediately, the summer session. Got to become a cop, you know that. By September of 70, I had her eaten out of the palm of my hand. The day after Christmas, 1970, booyah, we got married. We just celebrated our 51st wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
And if you stop to think about it, if I'd have killed her that first year, I'd already been walking the streets a free man. That got me into law enforcement. Jail time, patrol time, detective time, 38 years as a cop, 26 working murders. And here I am in Paris Hotel, downtown Las Vegas, with all of these people. God bless America. It's a beautiful spot. That's how I became a cop.
So back in 71.
71.
Just a show of hands, how many people were even born then?
Yeah, who was alive?
Okay, yeah. So that was that was a while ago. Law enforcement's changed a lot during your tenure, I imagine.
Yeah.
When you first got on the department, was going into homicide something that was a goal of yours, or was it just dumb luck, or just...
No, I was working patrol. I got out of patrol, and because of the expertise that I had built up prior to coming on the department, I got to go. I was working. I started the first plainclothes gang unit in a patrol station, East LA, which back in the 70s was the headquarters for gangs in the United States.
In the country, yeah.
It was big, and it was nothing. Murders all over the place, shootings going on, and at that time, then back in the late 70s, they decided, you know what, we need to have a specialty unit to work gang-related homicides. And I had seen, as a patrol cop, homicide guys get out there, and they were creme de la creme. I'd be working at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They'd get out there on a murder. I'd come back to work the next day. The same guys are there, same clothes, still digging hard. They were the best of the best. And I set my goals early. I said, that's what I want to be when I grow up. It takes, on my department still today, an average of minimally 15 years to get to Sheriff's Homicide Bureau. I did it in 9.5. And they asked me to get up there for my gang expertise, and the rest is history. I love working murders. It's not a job, it's a lifestyle.
And it's a tough lifestyle.
Yeah,
it's tough on the family. I know you've talked about that before, about how difficult, obviously, just the job in law enforcement is, let alone homicide. And 51 years. Still made it.
51 years.
So what was your murder count in 51 years? I've read accounts that say that you worked on 700 cases.
Not 51 years. That's the marriage.
Oh, sorry.
51's the marriage.
I thought that was the marriage. All right, go ahead.
Almost 52 if you count that marriage. The murder count, when you talk how many cases were actually my assigned cases, or if it's a heavy murder case, they send 4 guys out to work on it, or if it's an officer-involved shooting. So they have me counted down for right around 800 cases being involved in, and some of those, my last 5 years of Homicide Bureau, I was a homicide lieutenant. So I had 14 homicide cops working for me. I'd go out, my name goes out on every report. So every murder they went on, I went on, and I'd be the supervisor out there, which means just stay out of their way and let the pros work. And all I do is sign their overtime slips and do their evaluations. But you go out there, and they come to me for advice once in a while, and my name gets assigned to the case, so all those cases are involved.
What was the first murder that you investigated?
I can remember the first murder as if it were yesterday, because it was at a park, Rosewood Park in Firestone, the Florence community of South LA. It was on a Sunday afternoon, and I remember because the guy that I was going out to the murder with, he says, hey, if we get called out, he says, you're probably going to be there before I am, because I rent a carpentry shop out of my garage. So if it happens during the day, I got to clean up the garage before I get out of the, so you'll be out there. I said, how can you do this? This is my first murder case. He says, you get out there, you'll be in a suit and tie, and they think you're going to know everything there absolutely is to know about murder cases. You're sheriff's homicide. He says, you know where we start taking measurements, you know what we start to do. And I said, yeah, but what happens if the murder's in East LA where I just left patrol from? He says, well, tough shit, kid. Welcome to homicide. So it was that murder, and I remember it well because we did everything we had to do preliminarily. And it's about 10 o'clock at night, and he looks at me and says, well, what do we have to do now, kid? I said, well, we got to take this stuff over to the crime lab. And he said, nope. And I said, okay, well, we need to go see if we can contact these people over here. He said, nope. And I said, well, then what time is it? He says, I think it's time to have a drink.
I agree.
Did I mention policing has changed?
So here we are having a drink.
Yeah.
So he said, the guy tells me, he says, okay, here it is. You got to learn this rule right away. He says, 2-drink limit when we go out.
Okay.
3 drinks, you're in for the night. I said, okay. So I went there and I said, okay, here we are. I'm with the big boys now. Let me buy you your first drink. He says, no, I buy the first drink. You're my trainee. I said, okay, yes, sir, thank you. Next drink. He says, now you can buy me a drink. So I bought him a drink. And he says, okay, now this is the last one. This is the one we call one for the ditch. We ditch this place and go home. I said, okay. He says, I'm buying the first one for the ditch. Poured our drink, got that. He says, you made a mistake, kid. I said, why? He says, I said 2-drink limit. We go to number 3, we're in for the night. Have another one. And we stood there till they closed.
I got you.
Did you guys ever solve the murder?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
From the bar.
Well, I want to go back to just you talking about also, obviously we're going to get into the Night Stalker stuff, which I'm sure everybody here is very, intrigued by. But you mentioned being a lieutenant in the Homicide Bureau.
Yes.
And from my understanding, you were the first Hispanic officer for the LA County Sheriff's Department to hold that, the rank above a sergeant within that bureau. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. What year did that happen?
That happened in, thank you. That happened in 2004.
So still pretty late.
2004, yeah, it was late.
Yeah.
They're June the 2nd of this year. They're having their 100-year anniversary of Sheriff's Homicide Bureau. So it wasn't until 2004 they had their first man above the rank of sergeant that was Hispanic.
And your guy's sheriff is Hispanic now, correct?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Alex Villanueva.
Yeah, you a fan?
I'm a fan of his. He's in a shit pot full of trouble right now.
He is.
But according to the news, he is, because you got one lady saying one thing and him saying something else, It'll eventually come out in court. Makes good for political cannon fodder right now. He has done more for the county in all the years I've been with them than any sheriff prior to him. I'm not saying he's been the best. I'm saying he's done more. He's a good guy. He's got my vote. He's got my money. Anybody for LA County, vote Villanueva.
No, yeah. I mean, listen, the sheriff is a political position. I mean, it's an elected position. Obviously, the city of Los Angeles, there's a lot of anti-police stuff even throughout the politics there. And he is battling the DA there very publicly. The lack of prosecution on cases, people being released and so forth. And he's calling them out for it, and it upsets people.
He is calling them out for it. He's been the first guy since Peter Pitches that has called any of those politicos out. He's done it. He's called them out. He's shown. In our county, 23 of the independent cities have publicly said vote of no confidence for this guy. Recently, a off-duty LAPD officer got killed in sheriff's area.
Yep, when it was
rather than go to the local DA, we went to the feds for filing a prosecution because our DA will not file enhancements. He does not believe in the death penalty, does not believe in life without eligibility to parole. Let's all coddle him, get him, pat him on a poo-poo and send him back out on the streets. So, no, I hope he wins. He just fights everything.
No, he does. And Gil, and just, obviously I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Howard is, Jason is as well. We had a police officer 2 years ago. We had 2 cops shot. One of them was a rookie 4 weeks out of the academy, shot in the head. His sergeant who was with him was shot in the head and killed. His name was Craig Johnson. I was his first supervisor. When he got released out of the academy, he worked for me. The trial had been going on the last 3 weeks. He was convicted, and just yesterday, was it yesterday?
Yeah, we flew in yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday. They came back with a guilty for first-degree murder and gave him the death penalty. So it's
God bless him.
Yeah.
So that's what happens when you kill a cop in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's a little bit different.
As it should be. I mean, I don't let God sort it out.
There you go. All right. You guys want to hear about Night Stalker stuff, don't you?
Yeah.
What do you want to hear? I don't.
All right, well, Gil, so this was
March 17, 1985, St. Patrick's Day. The luck of the Irish wasn't with Maria Hernandez that night. Or Dale Okazaki.
Keep going.
Yeah, you're doing good.
That started it. It was the first case, just up for murder, just like any other murder, routine, mundane murder. Go out there. This one was different. Dale Okazaki was roommates with Maria Hernandez. Maria Hernandez got home. She goes into her garage. She lived in a condo, so the door leads right inside. She heard a deliberate noise. He made a deliberate noise. And I was speaking with someone earlier. There's a sexual deviation that says when someone points a gun at you, they're not always going to kill you. They want to see that frightened look. Well, he did it intentionally. And she said, no, put her hands up in front of her. She didn't do it like he said. He pulled the trigger. She went down. He thought he had killed her. The bullet hit the gun, hit the keys that were being held in her hand, penetrated her hand but didn't exit. She went down the ground. The door was already unlocked. He went inside. She got up, hit the door, ran out the garage, and as she's running away, if you were in a theater eating your popcorn, you'd go, "Run, Maria, run!" And then she hears that second gunshot inside, and she runs towards the front of the apartment. And you're saying, "No, don't be stupid, Maria, run the other way." She ran to the front. That second gunshot was when he killed her roommate. And same thing. First, we found contusions in the back of her head. He hit her in the back of the head with a gun first. She went down in the kitchen. There was a kitchen counter there. She then put her hands on the kitchen counter, lifted her head up to see where he's at. He was on the other side of the counter with a gun. As soon as her head came up, he popped her right in the head. Whew. He then leaves out the front door, sees Maria out there. There's a car. They start playing cat and mouse, going back and forth one way or the other. And finally, she just throws her hands up in the air and says, "Hey, you already shot me once. Don't shoot me again." So he then very casually puts the gun down by his side and walks away. And that was the very first murder. And that told me that night there's something different. Why didn't he kill her? Why did he let her go when he could have? She wasn't afraid the next time. Why did he shoot her in the head? Why didn't he shoot her in the back of the head when he had her inside? An hour later, Silene Yu was inside of her vehicle. She stopped, and this is probably about 2 miles away from where the first murder occurred. Cops get there, Monterey Park, different jurisdiction. They get there because neighbors have called in a fight between boyfriend and girlfriend. And what has happened is she's driving, he blocks her, she puts the car in reverse, backs into another car, so she's stuck. He then goes up, pulls her out of the side of the car, shoots her twice on the abdomen, and then leaves her in the street and goes. Why didn't he just shoot her when she was in the car? Mm-hmm. Why did he leave her? What was going on? And so that told me there's something different. And that led to the beginning of somebody there was an attempt kidnapping with kids. The kids did drawings. The drawing we did with Maria Hernandez, because she survived. And she said, this is what the suspect looked like. The kids did an identikit. Nobody in here will remember identikit. That's where they used to use the old acetate layovers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the guy said, hey, I just did a child abduction. Here's what she said. And they looked like they were done by the same person. And you look at the physical descriptions, they were the same. Maria Hernandez was a little closer to me because when I'm inside the apartment conducting the crime scene of Maria Hernandez, the deputy opens the front door and I'm silhouetted on the inside. So he says, hey, Gil, the mother of your victim at the hospital wants to talk to you. And I said, okay, just ask her, please, give me 2 more minutes. I'll be out there to talk to her. And then all of a sudden I hear, hey, Gilbert, is that you? And nobody called me Gilbert. I'm cool. I'm Gil. And I said, yes, it is. And she says, it's me, Pauline. And I look. I said, Pumpkin, is that you? And she said, yes. Pumpkin lived 3 doors down from me when I grew up. My mother and father baptized Pumpkin's baby, who was Maria Hernandez.
Really?
And so it really brought things a little closer. Pumpkin got divorced and ended up marrying somebody else, and they moved away. I hadn't seen Maria since she was in diapers. And that was just the first night of the case. And then things just developed. Evidence came in, so much evidence. It was tough trying to sell old cops. How many people saw the documentary?
A few.
In the documentary, it stressed that I was pushing the theory and I was saying there's one man doing it, and they all thought I was full of shit. And I was a young punk trying to make a name for myself. But I could see things that they didn't. And I was articulating what they were that were a sex crimes investigator would have had knowledge of. And I got my sex crimes investigator in the documentary. I identify Robert Morneau, who was a retired FBI agent who gave me the knowledge to work the case, made me a better instructor. Everything he did was through humor to get his point across. That's what started everything. And when you start looking at something like as simple as a shoe print of an Avia shoe, which we found, I can tell you without equivocation, on January 9th, 1985, 1,356 pair of Model 440 Avias arrived in New York from Taiwan for distribution throughout the U.S., of which 6 pair ended up in the state of California, 1 pair ended up in the city of Los Angeles.
Wow.
So we did a lot of work. Everything came together. It came together because of the work of a lot of assisting guys that were working the case. Citizens called up. Women, sometimes you can be so cruel. We had women calling in more of their ex-husbands as possible suspects. It was unbelievable. But but it all came out to be good. The arrest was actually made August 31st of 1985. It was a whirlwind. My family moved back home. My wife and kids moved out August the 8th. They came back September 2nd. I was a hero then. I mean, I was a piece of shit while I was working the case. I was a hero, and it was all right. I said, oh, yeah, now you want me. Now I'm in the news. Now it's good.
So your family moved out because of just how immersed you were in the case? The time, the dedication?
They moved out primarily because of fear. Once that documentary landed, after the documentary hit, I apologized to my wife because at that time I knew my job was to catch the killer. Her job was the house and the kids. I never thought about the fear factor. She was scared to death, and she was scared for the kids. I was never fearful because I had a gun, I had partners.
Right.
She was there alone, so she moved most of the time either with her parents or at my mom's house where there were numbers involved. But on August the 8th, she just said, forget it. Packed some shit, and she left. She said, I ain't coming back till it's over. And she was afraid. I was working 16, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. You lost Mike.
Yeah. I have one. Hey, I got a question for you. 85 tracking down shoes, right? It's not like they were sold on Amazon. You said that was a lot of work. How long did it take you to figure out that?
It didn't take that long because it was a brand new shoe.
Okay.
If it would have been a Reebok or a Nike or something, it would forever. What we did, the guys that we actually pulled off the golf course, two of my buddies, they were golfing. I said, I need you in here right now. And they said, what do you need? I said, I need you to track down this shoe. And they were pissed off because we brought them in. And I said, they said, where do we start? I said, start at the Orange County line and work your way west. I don't give a shit. Find out where it came from.
Right.
So we found out that the shoe came from this guy, Jerry Stubblefield, who was a track coach for the Oregon Ducks. And as soon as we found out the shoe pattern, then we sent one of our guys from the crime lab, working the physical section, put him on a plane, sent him over there to meet with Jerry Stubblefield, and that's where we found out the shoe. And that's where we got all the distribution charts from.
Let's talk about you sitting down and interrogating him and how that went.
Richard was nothing more to me than another human being. All this bullshit about Satanism and all that, I didn't care, because when you stop to think of it in the simplest form, Satanism is nothing more than another form of religion, another faith. So he's nothing more than human. And when I went in that room, I wasn't afraid of him. I wasn't afraid of his Satanism. He's nothing more than another human. I've got a job to do, and my job is to get as much information as I can out of that individual. So I had to have my game face on, and that's what it was. It was a game.
So talking about him having his game face on or working, out committing these crimes. I mean, he was murders, sexual assaults, burglaries, kidnappings, and so forth. All the time you spent, whether that case or just the 800 murders or so you were involved with, people that commit multiple murders, serial murders, do you think they are more born as such or made or, just through experiences in life? I mean, there's a lot of debate on it.
That's probably the second biggest question I get asked. There is a lot of debate.
There is.
And Richard looked at me and said, Gil, why do you think I am the way I am? And I told Rich, if I could tell you that, I'd be a doctor making a lot more money than I am as a cop. That's not my job. I don't give a shit why you are the way you are, and nobody can answer that question. It's up for debate. I don't know if he was born like that, if his daddy, was he victim of child abuse? Yeah, his daddy used to beat the shit out of him, and then the guy would go, to get away from his dad, he'd go sleep in the cemetery. I said, Rich, that scared the bejesus out of me.
Right.
Are you going to hang around with the dead? He said, no, it was the only calm place I could find. And, he called me Gil, I called him Rich. Matter of fact, I'd have him up here drinking some of your whiskey if you allow it.
Yeah, we'll let you. So in LA County at the time, there were about 8 million people living, right?
Shit, I don't know. There's more than I can't count that high.
So to put that in context, we live in Oklahoma. Above us is Kansas, and above that is some other flat state, I think.
Canada.
Alaska, yeah. And then above that's like North Dakota. All of those states don't have 9 million people in them. So you're trying to find a killer within that large demographic. What do you think helped you the most, other than he was a moron and criminals aren't very smart sometimes?
I really don't know. I know the week before he was arrested, he went down to Mission Viejo. And I remember talking to the captain. I said, we'll have him in 2 weeks. And we haven't the foggiest idea who he is. I said, we'll have him in 2 weeks. He's getting braver. He's making mistakes. When he went down to Mission Viejo, he says, tell him it was me. He liked the name Night Stalker.
Mm-hmm. It's catchy.
Tell him it was me. I was here. He's making mistakes. Then we found a car. Then we found prints. And so Mission Viejo, we said, we'll have him in 2 weeks. And then the following week, we had him in a week. Take luck over skill any day. And I don't know how to say this, but we just got the sign. 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
You know, we had another guest on a few weeks ago on our, 5 minutes. Now I see it. That's what now I see the 5 minutes. Thank you.
We're looking at each other.
We're not looking outward. Well, I guess we'll expedite
We've got 5
this.
minutes left.
So just some quick numbers for that.
I'm a detective.
I'm just the junior.
I'm just a dumb nurse.
Only 25 years, not 38. He's a hero.
Heroes.
Yes. But Richard Ramirez, he ended up being convicted for, correct me if I'm wrong, if you might know some of this, but it's like 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, 14 burglaries. He was actually sentenced to death there in the state of California, but nobody actually gets put to death in California. And he died in 2013 from medical reasons. Is that correct?
That is correct. June 7th, 2013.
June 7th. He knows dates, doesn't he?
You know, and a partridge in a pear tree. God bless him. There's no more appeals. It's over with. He's dead. He's gone. He's done.
All right. One question here before we do wrap that up. So your badge number was 187. Me being a kid from California, I grew up listening to rap music, blah, blah, blah. But, 187 is the California Penal Code for murder.
Yes, it is.
Was that coincidence you ended up with badge 187?
I got the hand pick, and it was set aside for someone else. That guy got promoted to captain. I said, I'll take it as a lieutenant. That's my badge.
No, well, so in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1015, it means taking somebody to jail. So when we switched from Smith & Wesson guns to Glocks and all that, and we got to pick numbers. I was a supervisor of our gang unit, so as a supervisor, I was asked what number I wanted to pick. So I picked 1015, taking bad guys to jail, so to speak. So, well, guys, this was a blast having all of you here. It was a first for us, so hopefully we can do something like this again.
I can't thank you all enough. I thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I thank CrimeCon and you, the CrimeCon attendees. God bless you all.
Oh, wait.
Stay safe.
I was hoping to get Gil drunk so we could find some other truce out, but we didn't make it that far. Listen, we've got, I've just been told from Sam over here, our guy, that we've got about 10 minutes tops that we can do some Q&A. So if you guys have some questions out there you want to throw our way.
Sam has the mic.
Jennifer LaFleur, have any questions? Jennifer?
Katie, what's the most surprising thing he told you during the interviews?
I don't know that there was anything. He did surprise me. For a millisecond, I'll tell you real quick. He actually scared me for a second. I was playing his No More Bourbon. Okay.
Lightweight.
I was trying to raise and lower his anxiety level to see what kind of questions I'm going to talk. So I want him to talk to me. So as I'm raising his anxiety level, I'm talking about his sister. And there's no doubt in my mind that his dad had molested his sister. So as I'm talking to him, he's going almost to the point of hyperventilation, and he had his fist closed tight, and his fist started coming up off the table. And I'm looking at him, and just for a millisecond, I'm sitting there saying, okay, if this son of a bitch if he starts floating around this room, I'm out of here. If he starts levitating, I'm gone. I've been shot at, I've been stabbed, but I'm not going to fight somebody that's floating around the room. And so I said, hey, Rich, how about a break? You want something to eat? So, but nothing he said surprised me. He's just a regular guy.
That like to murder people. Sam?
We got another question out there, anybody?
Right behind you.
We got Sam. Oh, we got one there and behind you in the red.
Sean, when will Live PD be back? And if a Kickstarter would help, let's go.
All right. You know, that is a very popular question here today. Honestly, I don't know. I can tell you that I know Dan Abrams has been very vocal in the media about it for over a year now. Everybody involved with the show, the production company, those of us that are on screen and all that, trust me, we all want it back. It's something that I don't think is dead in the water, and hopefully sometime in the near future we will know something. I will say this, I do think it would probably be on a different network. I can tell you that, but they're working on it. Yeah.
Hi, what is your favorite whiskey? And do we get to try?
Hold the mic closer to your mouth. There
Okay,
we go.
like this?
Yeah.
Yes.
What is your favorite brand of whiskey? And other than your own? And do we get to sample that one?
Oh, my.
Oh, that's a loaded question. That's like asking what's your favorite kid. We got lots of kids. We're from the South. We like them all. Just a little different way. Number one. Sean, what's your number one whiskey?
Definitely not
It's
Crown
not
Apple.
Crown Apple.
If anybody's listening to the podcast, we make fun of Crown Apple almost every episode.
Yeah, we do.
No, honestly, we just covered this actually very recently. We discussed this, and there was it's called Old Elk Sour Mash Batch 1. As silly as that sounds, that's a bottle that I really, really like, that I'm a huge fan of. And then there's also called a Weller Foolproof. Big fan of that bottle. But they're, just like you were saying, between Jason and Howard, and I think Jason's got upwards of 600 bottles. Howard's around 400. I'm just under 300 or so. So we have a lot to pick from.
We have a problem, is what you're saying.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the Foolproof. I like the wheated bourbon. What I really like is Gil drinking bourbon. That's pretty good over there. Yeah. Look how happy he looks. I think he's enjoying that.
All right. Well, guys, that is it. We appreciate your time, and have a great time the rest of this weekend.
Thank you all.